The teachings of Rabbi Ephraim Sprecher, Dean of Students at Diaspora Yeshiva on Mount Zion, Jerusalem.
Today we're going to discuss the current events in the Parshat. So Yaakov and Esav, they reconcile, and Yaakov remains alone, and he has an all-night wrestling match with this mysterious person he's wrestling all night. Who was this mysterious person that he was wrestling with?
Angel of Esav.
So Rashi says, right, the angel of Esav, the Sar Shel Esav. The Sar Shel Esav. Now, was this a physical wrestling match, Miriam, or was it all inside Yaakov's head? According to Rashi and the Ramban, this was actually an all-night wrestling match in the physical sense. Yaakov was wrestling with the Malach, the Sar Shel Esav, but according to the Rambam, the entire incident took place in Yaakov's head. It was a vision or a dream. It's either a dream or a vision. Yaakov, who was he wrestling with? Himself? Who's the Sar Shel Esav? The Yetzer Hara. Don't be all wrestle with our personal Yetzer Hara. If it was only Yaakov, it wouldn't be in the Torah. So according to the Rambam, the whole thing took place in a mystical vision or dream. Yaakov was wrestling with the Yetzer Hara. So the question is, if it only took place inside his head, not in the physical world, how come the Torah says, Chanoch, when he finished wrestling, he was limping? If the whole thing didn't take place in the physical world, inside Yaakov's head, then why was he limping? Says the Abarbanel, writing in the 1500s, you hear this, Sabila? It's called autosuggestion. Now, Sigmund Freud spoke a lot about that, but in the 1500s, before Sigmund Freud, the Abarbanel says, yes, autosuggestion. A dream can be so real that it actually affect you physically. Since Yaakov was dreaming that he was wrestling, he physically was afflicted, that he was dreaming about that he was wounded in the thigh. Why dafka in the thigh? And what was this wrestling match all about? We all wrestle with our Yetzer Hara. All of us have to wrestle with our personal demons. And everyone knows what it is. So Yaakov, he is the founder of the Jewish people, and he was teaching that we all wrestle with the Yetzer Hara. You win some, you lose some. You get wounded, but in the end, when the smoke clears, we're still standing, right? So you can't win every battle with the Yetzer Hara. But the very fact that we wrestle with him makes us great. The Pasuk says, the Malach changes his name, and he says, no longer Yaakov, you will be called Yisrael, because you wrestled with an angel and with people, and you will overcome. Which angel did you wrestle with?
The angel of death.
The Yetzer Hara. Says the Maral, we are called Yisrael because we wrestle with our Yetzer Hara. The very struggle, and you don't win every battle, the very fact that we wrestle with our Yetzer Hara, that makes us Yisrael. That makes us, what does Yisrael stand for, Billa? Sar El. We are a prince of God. Therefore, the Vatican wouldn't recognize Israel until recently. They just couldn't say the word Yisrael. They couldn't. Finally, they did. They couldn't handle it. We are the Prince of God. What makes us the Prince of God? That we're able to what? Struggle and wrestle with our Yetzer Hara.
Come out victorious.
And become out victorious. The very fact of the struggle makes us Prince of God. That we struggle with our Yetzer Hara. It's not easy. It's not easy. So the struggle itself is why we are called Yisrael, so says the Maral. That's what Father Jacob is teaching us. What?
Israel means struggle with God or prince of God?
Well, it means both. Here the Malach said you've struggled with the angel and with people, but the word Yisrael also means Sarel. So it's not too contradictory meaning. The very fact that we struggle with our Yetzer Hara, that's why we're the Prince of God. Yerchanoch. The very fact that we struggle with our Yetzer Hara, and believe me, it ain't easy, as you know, that's why we are the Prince of God. The struggle makes us the Prince of God. Avram, who said no pain, no gain? the Malach, right over here. No pain, no gain. Because we struggle with our Yetzer Hara, that's why we became the Prince of God. Wow, that's pretty interesting. So he was fighting with the Yetzer Hara, and he was wounded, showing that even if we win, we don't win completely. The Yetzer Hara wounds us. But that's the way it is in this world. Right? You can't win every battle. But the struggle is what makes us great. So he called the name of the place Peniel, because I have seen an angel of God face to face, and my life was what? Saved. What do you mean? This is the first time he saw Malachim. He deputized Malachim to Esav. So what he saw, wow, I saw an angel of God face to face, and my life was saved. Not the first time he saw an angel. Didn't he deputize them? But it's the first time he saw a hostile angel. An angel tried to mug him, right? So that was he's saying Peniel, the face of God. Morale picks up on this. When we wrestle with our Yetzer Hara, Peniel, then we confront God face to face. The struggle is what makes us confront HaKadosh Baruch Hu. If you look back in life, you don't grow from the easy moments in life. Spiritual growth, Chanoch, as you well know, comes from what? The hard moments in life, not from the easy moments. And that's what Yaakov was teaching us. That's what Yaakov Avinu was teaching us. So, the Malach names him Yisrael, right? But later on, David, God comes to him, and God says, your name will no longer only be Yaakov, but Yisrael, and God called his name Yisrael. Avram, I don't get it. The Malach is a robot. He doesn't works for God. The Malach already called him Yisrael. So why was it necessary later on God to come to him personally again and call his name Yisrael and repeat the name Yisrael, Ot Pam v'Ot Pam? The Malach, then God, and Ot Pam. In case you didn't hear, again, the Ikashmo Yisrael. What's going on? Remember we said that the Parshat of the week always speaks to what? Current events. Fasten your seatbelts. November 29, 1947. When the UN recognized the state of Yisrael, which Parsha did they read that Shabbos?
Pretty close to that.
This Parsha. November 29, you can Google it, 1947, when the UN voted, the name Yisrael came into the world, we read this Parsha. So 3,800 years ago, the Torah keeps repeating Yisrael, Yisrael, Yisrael. Vayikra Shema Yisrael. And he called, who's the he? God, and also the world. And the Israeli government called the name Yisrael. And perhaps that's why the Torah keeps repeating Bilha over and over again, Vayikra Shema Yisrael. Not hard of hearing, Chanoch. No, not hard of hearing, but it's a portent? What's the word? Portent. What's going to happen 38 years later on this very Shabbos in November 29, 1947. The country wasn't called Judea. Some people wanted to call it Judea, but it was called Yisrael. Are you getting this? Pretty interesting. Now, strange incident here. Devorah, Rivka's nursemaid, dies, and she's buried in Bethel, and Yaakov called the place Alon Bachut, the tree of weeping. Hanok, this is an old nursemaid, and she goes the way of the world. Why does the Torah have to make a special point that she died? Rivka's nursemaid, Devorah, died, and there was such a great weeping that the old nursemaid died that Yaakov called the place where they buried her Alon Bachut. What does Alon Bachut mean? The tree of weeping. What's all the weeping? This old nursemaid died, so she died. And we know the Torah bill is what? For the year 2019. It's not this Stam stories, Miriam. 38 years ago, this old nursemaid called Devorah died, Rivka's nursemaid. She was buried, and they couldn't stop crying. What's the big deal? Take a pill and lie down. You had a question, Rabbi Nachum? Fasten your seatbelts. Who is the unsung hero in the Torah? Avram, who is the unsung hero in the Torah? This anonymous Devorah. Who was this Devorah? Let's think. She was Rivka's nursemaid. She was Rivka's babysitter, and I think Ganenet, how would you say today? Rivka Imenu. This tzaddik is, where did you grow up, Avram? In a house of pagan idolatry, immorality. How did you grow up to be the great Rivka tzaddik, the mother of the Jewish people? She was surrounded by pagans. Her own parents were pagans and idol worshippers. Where did Rivka get her midot tovot from? Where? This Devorah. This unsung heroine. This Devorah. The Torah's Makir Toiv, or Yaakov Avinu's Makir Toiv. My mama became who she was, despite being brought up in the house of what? Betuel and Lavan and all those lowlifes, because of her Ganenet. Her kindergarten teacher, Devorah, who inculcated her, Avram, with the chesed and rachamim, and there's one true God. Who educated Rivka? Who educated her? Her low-life parents, Avi? No, this Devorah. So, this old oak tree, tie a ribbon around the old oak tree where Devorah was buried. Yaakov made a public eulogy. I am makir toiv to my mother's kindergarten teacher, because my mother is who she was, not because of her parents, but because of this unsung heroine called Devorah, who imbued my mama with what? With chesed and yirat shemayim, despite where she grew up, whose house she grew up. What a message, Avi, to be makir toiv to your kindergarten teacher. Rav Soloveitchik said, the great Rav Soloveitchik, Yiddish Moshe, the great Talmud Chacham, the Gaon, he says, I am eternally grateful to my Rebbe in the 6th grade. A 6th grade Rebbe who taught him Chumash and Rashi. What about Tosfos and Rambam? He never forgot his 6th grade Rebbe, said the great Rav Soloveitchik. Because they, the teachers, when you're young, they shape your mind. They imbue you with midot tovot. And that's what the Torah is pointing out by making such a big deal about Devorah's death. Now, the Zohar takes up on this. Her name was Devorah. Yeah. So the Zohar says that Devorah HaNeviah in the book of Shoftim was who? A Gilgal of this Devorah, Yiddish Miller. Devorah HaNeviah, centuries later in the book of Shoftim, happens to be a Gilgal of this kindergarten teacher of Devorah from this story here in Parshat Vayishlach. That's pretty amazing. What? Okay, but we don't know who we are, right? Maybe it's better that we don't know who we are, right? Now, what is death? If you know what Hilchot Hanoch, all the answers to everything is in the Torah. What is death? In this week's Parshat, the Torah says, Vahi b'tzeit nafsha ki meta. When Rachel died, how does the Torah Avram describe her death? Vahi b'tzeit nafsha. When her soul exited her body, ki meta. Death is not the beginning. The soul is reborn. That's an open pasuk. Too bad you don't have a book. Genesis 35:18. It says, Vahi b'tzeit nafsha, when her soul left her body, ki meta. That's what death is. Death is only where the neshama is released from the body. Niftar means released. And that's what the Torah is saying, that's right. All of the sons are named by the mamas, not the papas. All of the kids are named by the mamas. Why is that? Take a look at them. All the kids that are born are named by the mamas. The Ramban says that a name in Hebrew is not Tom, Dick, or Harry. A name in Hebrew defines the tafkid of that baby. And he says, since women are more in touch with their neshamas, so women are more qualified to look at this newborn baby, define the mission which is contained in what? In the name. Women have the Bina Yetera. Throughout Tanakh, Moshe, it's the ladies that name the babies. Because the name is your tafkid. And women have this Bina Yetera. So Rashi wonders, Rachel called the baby Ben Oni, the son of my pain. And Yaakov changed his name to Benjamin. Changed the name to protect the innocent. David, what's going on over here? So Rashi wonders, what right does Yaakov have to change the name of his beloved dying wife? Isn't that disrespect? Rachel called him Ben Oni. And what right does Yaakov have to change the name to call him Benjamin? That's Rashi's question. And Rashi says something incredible. Are you sitting down? Ben Oni means the son of my pain. Benjamin was the only son born where? In Israel. All the other brothers were born on Ocean Parkway. In Syria. Says Rashi something amazing. Yaakov could not allow any negativity to be associated with Eretz Yisrael. Since Benjamin is the only bro born here, he couldn't let the name stand. Son of my pain. In Eretz Yisrael, says Rashi HaKadosh, you're only supposed to accent the positive and not focus on the negative. That's what Yaakov Avinu is teaching us. In Eretz Yisrael, only be positive. Right? And therefore he changed it. What does Benjamin mean, Ramacham? The son of my right hand. Because you're the only brother born in Eretz Yisrael. Pretty amazing. And therefore Ramban says, why was the first king of Israel from Shevet Benjamin? And why is the temple building in Shevet Benjamin and the third temple will also be Shevet Benjamin? Why is that? The only brother born in Eretz Yisrael. So therefore, Shaul HaMelech, the first king, had to be from Benjamin, and therefore the temple building is in Shevet Benjamin because of the tremendous chus of being born, what? In the Holy Land. Pretty interesting. And therefore he's the only brother called Yedid Hashem in the whole Torah. He's the only bro that God calls Yedid Hashem. What does Yedid Hashem mean? The most beloved of God. Daniel, why is he most beloved of God? He's the youngest bro, because he's the only bro born where? Here. What a schus to be born here. Wow. And what a powerful Rashi. Yaakov would not allow any negativity associated with Eretz Yisrael. To those people that speak against Israel, oy vey vey. Yaakov would not appreciate that at all. In Eretz Yisrael, only have to stay positive. Now, where is the source that when a person dies, they put a matzeva on his grave? Where's the source, Billah? This week's Parshat. Rachel died, vayatzev Yaakov matzeva. This is the source for putting a stone monument on top of a grave. Who told us that? Yaakov. The question is why? Why do you put a matzeva, a stone on top of a grave? And why when you leave a grave do you leave stones on top? You had two questions. Why did Yaakov teach us that you're supposed to put up a stone monument on a grave? And why is there a minhag when you leave a grave, why do you put stones there? Give up? You sure? There's a pasuk in Parshas Hazinu, Deuteronomy 32. Hatzur tamim pa'alo. I am a rock. God calls himself what? The rock. The reason you put a stone on a grave is you're saying, my beloved relative is not 6 feet under. That's only his bodysuit. He's with the rock. The matzeva, the stone, reminds us that our beloved is not there. That's only his spacesuit. He is with the rock. Kadosh Baruch Hu calls himself the rock. We become a piece of the rock after we die. It's a great nechama. And that's why Yaakov taught us to put a stone matzeva on top of a rock, because Kadosh Baruch Hu in Deuteronomy 32 calls himself a rock. The rock is what? Immovable. It's a symbol of eternity, dependability, and therefore we are saying, and Yaakov is teaching us, when a person dies, that's only his guf, but his neshama becomes a piece of the rock. And therefore, in the Shiva house, you say, Hamokom Yenachem Eschem, the same idea. Why do you say Hamokom Yenachem Eschem? Why don't you say Elokim, El Shaddai? Yeah. You ever wonder, Miriam? Yeah. God has many names. That's a great nechama. Our beloved relative is not in our place, he's in a better place. He's with God is called the place of the universe. So he's not in our place, he's in a better place. He's not sick anymore, he's not suffering anymore, he's with the place. Not in our place, Kodesh Baruch Hu's place, without pain, without sickness. And that's another idea of why we say, Yamoklam Yenachem Eschem, Avram, we don't use another name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And also, Pi Kabbalah, that's why you tear Kriya on a Le'aleinu, a relative. It's again, of Nechama. No, it's all connected. Person tears his shirt. Is the shirt him? It's only a garment. So we're saying, reminding ourselves, my shirt is not me, it's only a garment, it's torn. My beloved relative, his body is torn and broken, but that's not him, that's only what? His garment. Just like my shirt that's torn is not me, it's only a garment. So my beloved relative who's torn and broken, that ain't him, David. It's only what? His garment. Isn't it a tremendous idea? It's meant to be a nechama. So here you have an amazing idea. Reuven goes and he sleeps with Bilhah, the Pelegesh Aviv. So the rabbis say didn't actually do it, but that's what it says. Then it says Israel heard. In the middle of the pasuk, there's a huge gap. If you look at a Torah scroll, after this incident, it says Israel heard. And then it says the Bnei Yaakov remained 12. Now we know how to count. We know that he had 12 sons. Why is there a pause, Chanoch, in the middle of the pasuk, which never happens? A huge pause. Israel heard what Reuven did. And then it says the Bnei Yaakov remained 12. You hear the question?
Obviously, he forgave him.
What is the pause there?
Reuven did Shuvah.
What's the pause there?
He did
Says
Shuvah.
the Vilna Gaon. Yaakov, the pause is Yaakov was hesitating. Should I rebuke him? Should I call him out? Or keep my mouth closed? He bit his tongue. Didn't say anything, and therefore the Bnei Yaakov what? Remained 12. And the Midrash says, when did he rebuke him? Only on his deathbed. Because Yaakov waited. It's amazing Midrash. Rashi quotes it. Yaakov says to Reuven, why did I not rebuke you when you did this terrible deed? He says, I was afraid that you would leave me and join Uncle Esav in the disco. That's what the Midrash says. So Yaakov bit his tongue, and therefore the Bnei Yaakov remained what? 12. Because if he would have rebuked him, he would have packed up and joined Uncle Esav in the circus, and there would be no 12. And if there's no 12, there's no Am Yisrael. So Yaakov bit his tongue, and the Vilna Gaon said, the pause is the struggle. Should I say, shouldn't I say? Sometimes a parent has to know when to bite his tongue and not to say. What a powerful message the Torah is teaching over here. Only on his deathbed, when he couldn't leave him anyway, because Yaakov is leaving, he's about to die, now he rebuked him. Now you're not leaving me, I'm leaving you. Isn't it, Bill? What an amazing Rashi, what an amazing Midrash, how the Torah teaches us everything. There's no mitzvahs in this. Why Derech Eretz Kodma LaTorah? Why all of these stories, Avram Berkowitz? The Torah is Derech Eretz Kodma LaTorah. You have to know when to rebuke and when not to say anything. You got to use the fifth of Shulchan Aruch. How many Shulchan Aruchs are there, Moshe? How many are there? But if you ain't got the fifth one, you ain't got nothing. Seichel. So he kept quiet, and the Midrash says, and he said he was afraid that Reuven would leave him. And he did the right thing, and that's why the Bnei Yaakov remained 12. Otherwise, what's the beginning of the verse and the end of the verse? Yehuda got to do with it. It's pretty amazing. Now the Torah mentions Esav's wife. He had many wives. One of them was called what? Machalat. Why was one of his wives called Machalat? And who cares what she's called? You can call me Joe, and you can call me what? Why do I care? Well, his wife's name was Machalas. Why should I care? Says Rashi, from here Chazal learn out that a person, when he gets married, what does Machalas mean? Mechila. The day Esav got married, he and his wife both got what? Forgiveness. If you want to get forgiveness, get married. Huh? Who said you wanna fight, get married? What? Or the 3 rings? No. But if you want to get mechila, get married. And therefore the Torah has to go out of her way 3,800 years telling us that one of Esav's wives was called Machalas, to teach that when Chos and Kala on the wedding day, therefore they fast, and they say Al Chait, you know that, by Mincha? Because it's Yom Kippur for them. So we have to know on a wedding day we get Mechila. Avram, why is that? Why on a wedding day do you get Mechila? Why? What?
You're like a newborn.
You like a newborn? Okay. But why?
You're starting a new life.
You're starting a new life. Husband and wife have to learn to forgive themselves, to forgive. You know, when you're married, after a while, there's bound to be fights. Men are from Venus and women are from Mars.
The other way around.
Or the other way around. There's bound to be fights. So Hashem says, listen, I forgive you. You have to learn to what? To forgive yourself. Rasavechi says, therefore you break a glass under the chuppah. Avram, why do you break a glass under the chuppah? The chassan does. It's the last break he'll get. Get it? The last time he'll get a chance to put his foot down. But Rasavechi says, you're under the chuppah, it's all lovey-dovey. It ain't always going to be like that. There's going to be broken glasses. There are going to be broken glasses. Accept it and learn to forgive. Therefore, God forgives us on our wedding day to teach us. V'halachta b'drachav. How do you say that? V'halachta b'drachav. Walk in His ways. He forgives us. We have to give our spouse, because there's bound to be what? Things that you wish you wouldn't have said. But Hashem says, I forgive you, and you have to forgive your spouse. That's pretty interesting, huh? Another reason why on your wedding day your sins are forgiven. When you get married, you have to be marvel medoisav. The Talmud and Saita compares a wedding to splitting of the Red Sea. What does a wedding got to do with splitting of the Red Sea? The Talmud says getting married, successful wedding is like splitting of the Red Sea. What has it got to do with it? The Red Sea split. It went against its nature. Husband and wife, to make a successful marriage, that one has to split for the other. You got to go against your nature to make a successful marriage. It's hard. And the Talmud says that your mavel medoisav, you go against, you give it up for the other. When you don't have to, your sins are forgiven. So chos and kala, husband and wife, don't they give it up for each other?
Yeah.
The husband gives the wife, constantly giving, and the wife gives herself to the husband, giving herself physically, and sometimes she's not in the mood for it, but she gives anyway, and he gives anyway. Each one gives it up for the other. Rosh Hashanah, page 17 says, Avram, when you give it up for the other when you don't have to, all your sins are what? Forgiven. And that's the secret for a happy marriage. You don't feel like doing it, you do it anyway. My Rabbi said, Rapam, sometimes you have to make believe you're hard of hearing. When one spouse says something to you, you have to say, honey, I didn't hear you. You have to play hard of hearing. And that's why you're marvel medoisav, and the Kodesh Baruch Hu does the same for you. Because it's midah keneged midah. The way we act with others is the way God acts with us. And we know ishtay kegufay, David, right? Your wife is like your what? V'haftar yachu kamocha. Love your friend like yourself. But it's humanly impossible. So Chazal say, who is your best friend? Your wife. It's not possible nobody else, but with your wife, you can love her like yourself. Because ishtay kegufay, your wife is like your what? Your own body. It's an amazing story of the tzaddik of Yerushalayim. What's his name? Aryeh Levine, the great tzaddik, you can read it in his book. His wife had phlebitis. Very painful. Richard Nixon also had it.
Richard Nixon had it?
My mother, Zechron Levrach, also had it. Very painful. So he took his wife to the doctor. He says to the doctor, "We have phlebitis." The doctor says, "Hello? Excuse me, Rabbi? We have phlebitis." Hello? Ishtay kigufay. If his wife has phlebitis, he has phlebitis. It's not possible, but with your wife it's possible. With your wife it is possible. Amazing. The Haftorah. Ovadia, the great prophet Ovadia Avram, this week's Parshat, who comes from Edom. He was a Ger Tzedek, and now a Ger Tzedek, he became a Navi Hashem. Ovadia. A descendant of whom? Of Esav. You hear this? Esav was zoichet to have such a righteous convert come from him. Ovadia, what does Ovadia mean, Avram? Evet Ka. He spoke to God, God spoke to him. He's one of the 48 Nevi'im in Tanakh. He has the shortest book in Tanakh. Because he says it all in one chapter, Moshe. You know what he taught us? Edom is our arch enemy. And he comes from Edom. He's a ger from Edom, became a Navi. He was an heir to Esav. Esav desired to get the brachas from Yitzchak. And to get it from Yaakov. And he hated him for it. So what did Ovadia teach? Grandpa, if you can't beat him, join him. Shall I repeat that? Esav, stop hating Yaakov. You want the brachas, right? I got the brachas. How did I get the brachas? I became a Ger Tzedek, a Navi Hashem, Grandpa. If you can't beat them, Bainish, join them. By joining Israel, he became equal partner to Yaakov. Isn't that amazing? What Ovadia is teaching Grandpa and us. No reason to hate us. We're the startup nation. We're the smartest, the most intelligent. You can join us, become a Ger Tzedek. We don't discriminate. You know that? What a powerful message from Ovadia. You know, and he mentions the Yasper Yeshiva. Did you know that? Twice. Look at the Parsha. He says that what? Saviors will come from Mount Zion, the Yasper Yeshiva, to judge the mountain of Esav. This week's and Bahar Tzion Tia Pleita. He says when the missiles start flying, the safest place is to be where? The Yasper Yeshiva, Har Tzion. It's just amazing. I'm telling you, you couldn't make this up. You don't need a Bible code. You got you don't have the Haftorah, but you get home, please look at the Haftorah. It's a short one. Ovadia Aleph is only one chapter. The whole book is only what? One chapter. He mentions Har Tzion not once, but what? Twice. And then he says something amazing. Please hear me well. He mentions Har Tzion, and he says, the Golut Yushalayim Asher B'Sfarad. Those that are exiled from Yerushalayim that are in Sfarad will come home. Did Spain exist when he said that? He said this 2,800 years ago. Moshe, what's he talking about? He mentions Har Tzion, then he says, oh, by the way, those that are exiled from Jerusalem, when he said this, nobody was exiled. He was living during Bayis Rishon. Nobody was exiled. And did Spain exist? What is he talking about Sfarad? He says, those that are exiled from Jerusalem to Sfarad will come back. He's sitting down, and he mentions Har Tzion. In the Yasper Yeshiva Har Tzion, we have many Spanish girls who are anusim. How do you say that in English? Anusim, from conversos. Hundreds of them. So Ovadia, 2,800 years ago, are you getting this of Yaakov? Foresaw that in Har Tzion, Gwinky Dinky, Har Tzion, those that are exiled in Sfarad will come back. And these hundreds of Spanish girls who Colombia and other countries in South America, Sfarad, they're called Sfarad, right? They're coming back to Har Zion. How did Ovadia know this, buddy, 2,800 years ago? Hello? It's just amazing how the current events, Har Zion, Sfarad, when he said this didn't exist. And nobody was in exile. The temple was standing in all of its glory. So obviously he's speaking about what, Avram? Our time. Our time. Amazing. And he says that Beis Yaakov is a Eish, Ubeis Yosef lahava, and that will destroy, and there won't be no survivor from the house of Esav. Ki Hashem diber. And then he says, saviors will come up from Har Zion to reconcile Har Esav. I don't understand. First you said, when Mashiach comes, Joseph's flame will devour. There won't be no sarid. How does sarid mean? No survivor in the base of Esav. Then he says, Yaakov and Esav will reconcile. You said if there's no survivors, who's to reconcile? The prophet seems to be contradicting himself, Chanoch. And why should I care? This is 2,800 years ago. What's the message here? He says, Joseph's flame in the Messianic era will destroy all of Esav. There won't be no sarid. What does sarid mean? No survivors. And then he says, by the way, saviors will come from Har Zion to reconcile Har Esav. If there won't be no survivors, who's left to reconcile? You hear my kasha on the Haftorah? To answer this question, we will want Yehuda ask another. The end of the Parshat gives the entire family tree of Esav. Remember roots? Who cares? The Torah is so economical, an extra letter. Here the Torah goes on and on, with describing the whole family tree of whom? Who cares? Family tree of Esav. Psukim, this grandchild, that grandchild, this grandchild. Why should I care? My Maimonides and Mor Nevuchim asked this question, and I want to tie his answer to the Haftorah. The Rambam says something amazing. When Mashiach comes, it'll be Miller time. There's a mitzvah to destroy Amalek. That will be Mashiach's job. But before he does, Mashiach is going to have to read this parsha very carefully. Because only Amalek must be destroyed. The other grandchildren of Esav are not to be harmed. So the Torah values human life so much that when Mashiach comes, he's going to have to destroy Amalek. You're going to have to study this parsha very carefully, because Esav had many other grandchildren. Only the Amalek grandson, that line is destroyed. All the other grandchildren are not to be harmed. So the Torah has to be very specific, giving me the entire family tree. Of whom? Of Esav. Not to harm an innocent person. So I want to use this teretz, Moshe, with Ovadia. When he said no survivor will survive from the house of Esav, he only means what? Amalek. Only Amalek. The rest of them are not to be harmed. The other grandchildren will be reconciled with us. Isn't that wonderful, Billah? There's no contradiction. Otherwise, why mention all of Esav's grandchildren and great-grandchildren? Because Mashiach will have to study this very carefully. Only Amalek must be destroyed. The other grandchildren are innocent. Look how the Torah values a human life, and therefore it goes on describing the family tree. Remember, Kunti Kintei, roots of Esav. And this, I want to use this Rambam, Moshe, why the prophet does not contradict himself. When he says there won't be no survivors from the house of Esav, he's only speaking about Amalek. But the other grandchildren of Esav will reconcile with us at the end of time. That's what Ovadia says, and he should know because he comes from them, not from Amalek, from the other grandchildren. The great prophet Ovadia. Ovadia means Evet Ka, the servant of God par excellence. Of all the Nevi'im, only he's called the Evet Yud-Kei, the servant of God par excellence, the great prophet Ovadia. Pretty amazing. And he says that Har Zion, Mechamas Achicha Yaakov, Har Zion, we will save it Mechamas. What does Hamas mean? Hamas. If the Asper Yeshiva was not on Mount Zion, the whole place would be full of Hamas. We are, what's the word? Bulwark, Avram, the fortress. We stand at tide. The Navi says, Har Tzion is defended by us against Hamas. It's all in the Haftorah, without any Bible codes. But the amazing Haftorah. It says here that Mashiach will set up his headquarters where, Moshe? Har Tzion, it says. I'll gladly give up my classroom. Right? I gladly. All the Mashiach Bahar Tzion. Mashiach is supposed to come. Why we have no government? Look at Rav Kaduri said years ago. You can Google it. Rav Kaduri, the great Kabbalist. Right before Mashiach comes, there'll be two candidates for prime minister, both called Benjamin. And you can Google it, and they won't be able to get it together. And they're going to have election after election, and they won't be able to get it. And this is a sign Mashiach is coming. Two Benjamins can't get it together. They're both called Benjamin, Kawinky Dinky. And you know, the definition of insanity is, Einstein said, you keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting what? Different results. So it's like Groundhog Day. But it's all part of God's plan. Ready or not, here I come. Mashiach is very, very close. You see, it's unbelievable, right? It's not normal. They can't agree. I mean, why can't you agree? It's Hashem's plan, Bilha. It's Hashem's plan. Hashem is putting all the pieces in place. And now they're saying they're going to have a fourth election, because they say number 3 will be just like the first two. They're planning in August. They're planning in, I'm not making this up. They March and they say August. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's like Chelem, but it's not Chelem, Golda. It's part of the plan. Things are going according to plan. Not our plan, but his plan. But we have free will. Please hear me, Moshe. Bibi and the other Benny could have made it, give a little. Well, I have free will. But God has a plan. So the Maral said, before Aryeh Kaplan, we're playing chess with the Grandmaster. Rav Aryeh Kaplan said it, but the Maral beat him before it. Amazing Maral that we learned yesterday with Rav Rubel. We move independently. They don't want to form a government. They want to form a government, right? You ever play chess with the Grandmaster, Avram? Well, if you do, you know you move independently on the chessboard. But the Grandmaster, what's he doing? He controls the board. So Aryeh Kaplan and the Maral before him, we're moving independently, but we're playing chess with the Grandmaster. I have free will, form a government, not form a government, right? But HaKadosh Baruch Hu is manipulating the game. I'm moving independently, you have free will, move your rook, move your pawn. What else is there, Avi? The horse, the knight, the castle, Bishop, Queen. Bishop to queen, right? King. But the Grandmaster, who's the Grandmaster? HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he is controlling the game. You have to remember that. Wow, Miriam, it's so beautiful. I'm moving independently, but he's guiding the game. Don't you see? How it looks like a contradiction, Moshe, no? My free will, his foreknowledge, but it's not. Think of chess, think of playing with the Grandmaster. We're moving independently, but God is guiding the game. Because there is a plan. There is a plan. Things are always going according to plan. Not my plan, but his plan, right? And God says, you can pay me now, or you can pay me later. But the outcome has to be good. Because the Navi says here, saviors will come to Har Tzion to judge the Mount of Esav, and then the entire world will recognize the one true God. Ovadia says that. Can you imagine Esav's anicle? Esav's grandson. Can you imagine? Without Esav, there wouldn't be no Ovadia. Without Esav, there wouldn't be no Rab Meir. Stam Mishnah Rab Meir. The entire oral Torah that we have comes from whom? And Rab Meir comes from whom? Kesa Nero. Who does Nero come from? Edom. Rome, Esav. Can you imagine that?
Mayor Balones?
Rameir Balanes, look at the Gemara in Gittin, 54. Rameir Balanes, the Stam Mishnah Rameir, the pillar of the oral Torah, is a direct grandson of Kesa Nero, who is Edom, who is Esav, who is Rome. Isn't that amazing? From the wicked Esav. Without Esav, there's no Avadia, there's no Stam Mishnah Rab Meir. Are you getting this? You're right, no Christianity, but also no Rab Meir. But you see how God works in mysterious ways? We would say Avram convoluted, right? Yeah. Right? Twists and the turns, Christianity, and all the persecution, and yet without Christianity, there's no Meir. Without Rome, there's no Rab Meir. There's no Avadia. Where will we be? And the Megala Amukos, we still have a few minutes. One of the great Kabbalists in the 1600s says something amazing. He says, Yitzchak loved Esav because he trapped him with his mouth. Now what does that mean? Trapped him with his mouth. Yitzchak Avinu, what?
He fell for it.
But you talk about Miriam, he's Yitzchak Avinu. How could he be deceived by Esav? Because he gave him a good pastrami sandwich, that's why he loved him, Moshe. Megala Mukos, you got to look this up, it says, Piv min Torah shel Bapeh. He saw b'nevuah that the entire Torah shel Bapeh will come from a descendant of Esav. Who's a descendant of Esav? Rameir. Kitzayid b'piv stam mishnik Rameir. Rameir is a direct descendant of Edom, Esav. He loved him because the entire Torah shel Bapeh comes from Esav. Antoninos also became a ger. Antony became a ger. Tosis Navaydazar says the great Roman emperor became a ger. A Talmud of Yehuda Nasi. He saw that. Yitzchak did. Therefore, he loved him because the Torah Shabbat and Onkelos. Who is Onkelos? Moshe. Onkelos, the nephew of Titus, the emperor of Rome. Also Esav. That's why he loved him, not the pastrami sandwich. No. Megala Amukot. He lived in the 1600s, a great Kabbalist. Isn't that beautiful? Onkelos comes from Esav. Where does Rashi get his stuff from? Without Onkelos, nothing. Onkelos and Rameir, the pillars of the Torah Shabbat Peh. Dafke from Esav. Why? Only he knows. That's why Yitzchak loved him. Because of his mouth, the Torah Shabbat Peh. Isn't that wonderful? Why got to be like that? Couldn't God have a born Jew give the Torah Shabbat Peh? Dafke through the wicked Esav? But God tells Isaiah, my ways and my thoughts, forget about it. We just don't know, but we know Hakol L'Tovah. Every cloud has a golden lining. That's the Megala Amukot. Megale Amukot. It's a Kabbalah sefer from the 1600s. Amazing insight of why Yitzchak loved Esav with the mouth, because the Torah Shabbat Peh is passed through Esav. Onkelos, Rameir. The Stam Mishnik Rameir. It's why? If it wasn't Christianity, there would be no Rameir. And without Esav, there would be no Onkelos. And where did the Torah Shabbat Peh come from? Why God chose this way? Only God knows. But you see how Hakol L'Tovah. Hakol L'Tovah. We have 5 minutes or not?
Yeah. Yes.
We're coming up to an amazing story. We'll talk about it later. Yosef with the brothers, they put the cup in Benji's bag, a terrible frame-up. Benji's caught red-handed. I think it's called the plant, right? And then, at the height of suspense, the Torah makes a break. Cliffhanger. Wait till next week. He's caught there red-handed with the cup in his bag. The brothers, they tear their clothes. It looks like curtains. And the Torah, what? Stop. Wait till next week. Why keep me with a cliffhanger, Bainish? Why did the oral Torah say that stop right here? Tell me how it all turns out good. Why stop with this terrible disaster? That's life. Life is a cliffhanger. It looks bad now, but if you wait till next week or next year or next world, you see Hakol L'Tovah. I'm telling you a deep secret over here. We'll talk about it more, Bli Neder. I'm telling you why the Torah leaves. The Yeshua comes in the next Parsha. Why leave me with a terrible suspense and a terrible tragedy? Brothers are caught red-handed. They tear their clothes. It's curtains for them. Stop. Next week, Joseph reveals himself. Everything is what? Hunky-dory. Moshe, why keep me in suspense? The message of life, that things look bad, and they do look bad. But if you wait till next week, or next year, or next world, you'll see that what? It's all going to turn out good. It's all a cliffhanger. Stay tuned, Avi.
For more of Rabbi Sprecher's teachings, visit rabbisprecher.com.